Oh, is the sound too low or is it too high? I don't know. Okay, stream is live. Quality is halfway decent. I'll wait a little bit for people to file in, I think, because I did just just post that this is happening. Kind of surprised and unannounced. So, yeah, I think let's put that there, and this. And I guess I should probably start this with a tour of the system, because the system here is it's not particularly interesting. It's just more jank than usual. Oops. There. Stays up. So let's see. How long should we wait for people to turn up? I'm a bit tired. There's like 3 people according to Twitch right now. Morning? Wait a minute. It's not 11 in the 11 p.m. Is that late already? Okay, wait a minute. I need to get an idea of how many. Okay, there's 13 people. It's 12. No, it's not 12. It's almost 11. I'm in the UK, a different time zone from the rest of Europe. Anyway, should I do a YouTube announcement? Should I not do a YouTube announcement? It's so annoying. It's like I freaking, on one hand, yeah, I could just stream to YouTube, except I'm so used to, like, I prefer streaming to Twitch. So, I don't know. I'll just post into the thingy. What is it? The discussion thing on YouTube. I'll just post that I'm live streaming again. I mean, I don't think anybody ever catches that, but maybe it'll hit people on the notification squad. I don't know. I did announce it on Facebook, so. To hell with it. Let's just start. Seriously, it's just like, this is gonna be so bad. It's not, I don't think it'll even be that long. I mean, I always say it's not gonna be that long, but today I legitimately think so, because this is not that hard to do. So, let's go over the system. We got these. Lots of these. Well, actually, not lots of these. I had 3 of these, okay? So these are A6 6420Ks. I need to get, yeah, okay, I need to put it here. So these are A6 6420Ks. As you can see, this one does 5.3 gigahertz, 2 cores, and I think, yeah, that's the one currently in the system because it's not in its box. This is a 5.3 gigahertz, 2-core chip as well, also A6 6420K. Then there's this one right here. As you can probably tell by the brought to you by Alza, all of these chips are from Alza. I don't think any of them are going to be going back alive. We'll see. That's just another 6420K. This one died. I killed it. So this was binned for 5.45 gigahertz on water cooling, all two cores. Well, binned. I just did a really quick test that it boots 5.45, and it does. Well, it doesn't boot 5.45, but it, like, once I was in Windows, I could set it to 5.45, make a screenshot before it died. But this one died because I decided that, well, I kind of ran out of voltage. I was at like 2.1 volts VCore. It wasn't scaling any higher. I gave it 2.2, didn't make a damn difference. CPU was stuck at around 7.5 gigahertz, which, quite frankly, is not enough gigahertz. So stuck around 7.5 gigahertz, and I'm like, okay, well, there needs to be something I can do. I've ramped up the PLL as high as it goes and as low as it goes. This motherboard doesn't have that many settings for it. It's 2.5, 2.6, 2.7, 2.8, and that's the end of it. pumped more voltage into literally everything else on the motherboard. That didn't help either. So at that point, I'm like, okay, well, I tried I tried really low north bridge voltage, like I went all the way down to like 1.15, which is stock for these. That didn't help. I tried 1.4. That didn't help. I tried 1.5, and that killed the chip. So I'm not really sorry about it though, because it's not mine, and it sucked. Like, it was a 7.5 gigahertz CPU, so even if it was mine, I would have probably been okay with killing that one. And I'm hoping that one of these 5.3 gigahertz CPUs, because that's the thing about, like, binning on a water cooling, is you don't know how it'll respond when you put it under liquid nitrogen, because my 8 gigahertz FX 9590 sucks horrifically if it's on air cooling. It's so bad. It barely does 5 gigahertz for benchmarks. And it's completely useless at like, even for max frequency, it's completely terrible. So I'm like, well, these are 5.3 gigahertz. These might actually be good when that 5.45 was so bad. So yeah, anything else? Oh yeah, motherboard does have a volt mod. I'm not going to show it to you because it's under the insulation. It's just a 2-wire mod. This is probably the worst volt mod I've ever done. It's just 2 wires on a trimmer like this. The problem with it being just 2 wires is I'm using this trimmer to pull the feedback pin to ground, and, well, this seems to be some kind of... I don't think it might necessarily be an international rectifier voltage controller, but it is one of those chips where the feedback pin has, like, no resistance to ground. Here it's 80 ohms because the APU is a 2-core, so it's an 80 ohm CPU. Like, the die is 80 ohms of resistance, which makes sense. It's not that power hungry. But, it is an 80 ohm CPU, so there's like 80 ohms to ground from the feedback pin. And basically, if I'm trying to skew the voltage, it's just, this needs to be set to some very low resistances, so it gets really, really warm once I crank up the voltage. And the reason why I need this is this motherboard maxes out at 1.9 volts on its own, and the pile driver CPUs scale to like 2+. So yeah, this is just going to go great. Anyway, let's fire it up and... pull it down. It does still start, right? Yeah, it still starts. Okay, why are we in this mode instead of proper mode? Looks like I'm going to need to make a profile. Yeah, it just wiped itself. Silly motherboard. 6, yes. AI tweaker. Okay, that's fine. That's not low enough. We need that at 800, that at 800. Digi plus extreme. We're using extreme load line calibration, which I recommend you never do, just to get a little bit more voltage out of the board before I apply the volt mod, because as I said, the volt mod is horrifically jank. Also, the V-Core multimeter is hooked up right behind the CPU socket, so this thing is really, like, this is as accurate voltage readings as it's going to get in software. It reads all kinds of garbage. I like the voltages. We're gonna bump this one to 2.6. And then in advance, we're gonna disable 1 core because I actually checked that, yeah, this CPU does better with just 1 core. And unfortunately, these being dual core AMD pile drivers, you can't do, like, there's no point trying to PS check them or something, because PS check is great when you have like lots of separate modules, because you can clock the individual modules separately, or individual full cores. I haven't figured out a way, or full cores if you're on like a Phenom. On pile drivers, you can only set modules at a time, and since there's 2 cores, like this is a dual core, it only has 1 module. So we're just going to run it as a single core chip. Hopefully that'll help. And what else? Right, and I also wanted to do... Don't need that, and do need... Well, I might need that. Where's this flash stick? There. We're going to need that for validation saving. Go. And I think I've configured everything at this point, except, oh, wait, 13, 13, 13, 39, 2T, and max out that refresh cycle time. Wait, no. Actually, I'll just leave that one on auto for now. So, this should be good to go to start with, so let's start. We're already at -2. This doesn't really take that much liquid nitrogen to pull down because, well, these CPUs are really, really low power. There we go, and that booted right up. So we'll go straight to Windows right now. And it looks like, yeah, okay, we'll just let Windows do its thing with the failure recovery. Recovery, it looks like Windows didn't load correctly. Yeah, whatever. Restart my PC. Oh, damn it. Oh, well, that was a big spill. Also, I don't really plan to be answering many questions, so if you're on the chat hoping to get answers to questions, don't expect them. I kind of want to get 8 gigahertz and go do something more fun than APU abuse. Why is Windows not loading? There we go. I don't know why. This Windows install is like really dodgy. It's really broken for some reason. It takes forever to boot. Also, it actually straight up doesn't boot if I put any AMD drivers on it. It just doesn't boot at all, so I don't know what I did to it, but it's broken, mostly. We're at minus 50 right now. Gonna pull it down a bit further. Unfortunately, we're going to have to use AI Suite 3, which is like the worst. This is the worst iteration of AI Suite I've ever had the misfortune of dealing with. It is so janky and so bloated that I don't know how this ever became an AI Suite. Like, AI Suite 2 was fat and bloated, but it wasn't this bad. This latest iteration is just trash. It's awful. So... but it's the only version that supports this motherboard, so that's what we're going to be using. Okay, you don't have to put up with that. That's the cable coming from the capture card. The screen sometimes blacks out on me in Windows, but that, you don't get that on the stream. I get that, because that's the return signal from the capture card. We're at minus almost 100, so once we hit around minus 100, I'm going to try if it'll do 6 gigahertz, which is kind of like a... like, it should do 6 gigahertz around this temperature, and let's go for that. I'm going to set the voltage first, and then we're going to set the frequency. Voltage applied, and we're just going to skip right to 5.5. There's no point going slowly. 5.5, cool. Okay, we're going to try 5.8, just in case the chip is terrible. And, oh man, this sucks. That sucks really badly. This might be the worst chip yet. Yeah, the only issue with AI Suite is it resets the BIOS. Try, yeah. No, I want 130. Yeah, and we're just going to boot straight at that. I've noticed that on the last chip, also, the higher multipliers seem to be a bit dodgy. They didn't really like I couldn't actually set 60x, I think. Like, I never actually set 60 to it, so... luckily, the board is pretty good for around 140 BCLK. This seems to be a little something that seems to vary from FM2 board to FM2 board. It might also be CPU dependent, but the BCLK, like, it goes really easy up to 130, and then on some boards past 130, it's an absolute pain. This one starts being a pain above 140. So hopefully that won't be too much of an issue. Minus 120. At least this doesn't use a lot of liquid nitrogen. We're going straight to full pot on these. These don't have a cold bug at all. Ugh. And we're probably going to run through both CPUs today, not just one. Because, again, this is just validations. Oh, it's boiling properly now. Go. Minus 136. Minus 150. And we're at full pop pretty much. At this point, we're just going to slam the voltage because there's no point bothering with anything lower. Hopefully this chip doesn't suck. We're at 1.9. And we're also at full pot. So LN2 is now just sitting in the LN2 pot, and it's still boiling pretty violent. Gotta wait for the temperature to stabilize. I wonder what was up with this showing 150 for a bit. Okay. Let's try crank that voltage. Jank volt mod, here we go. I really didn't like... I know how to do it properly for this board, I just didn't feel like doing it because it was a bit of a rush, so... Well, I kind of rushed it. I didn't really want to spend a lot of time on this, so... This is boring as hell. APUs. Especially because they suck. All of them. Well, so far, like, they've sucked pretty bad. Okay. Man, that LLC is just making setting voltage on this motherboard a pain, because the slightest thing that... Okay, yeah, there we go. We're going to go at 2 volts. And now let's go for 6G. It has to do at least 6. That'd be embarrassing if it didn't do 6. Okay. 6.1. Good. So I've already posted a score of 7.5 gigahertz. If this doesn't even do 7.5 gigahertz, we're like, I can pretty much throw the chip in the bin and just call it, like, yeah. We're not gonna, like, not good. Don't really want to spend a lot of time on this because these are 6.6, 6.7, 6.9 almost, 7, 7.1, 7.3, and it crashed. Whoa, this thing is garbage. It might be garbage. It might be really, really garbage. What multiplier? Oh, wow, that's 56x. So that could be just the multiplier. We'll try that. 7.3, that would be embarrassing. That's so low. So we're going to try boot in at around 6.9 gigahertz, just so that I don't need to go up the ratio so hard. Also going to bump up the BCLK just in case it is a multiplier issue and not a clock issue. There, we're going to boot with that. Yeah, it's the temperature not being... Getting a 06 postcode, that's interesting. But the temperature on the probe not being as... Oh, damn right, I voltage wrong. Oops, forgot to set the 1.9. The temperature not going below 170 is just this probe doesn't go below 170. If you actually look at the temperature voltage curve of a K-type thermal probe, they sort of flatline towards the minus 200s, and this one just flatlines a lot earlier than it should. Right, I forgot to set core voltage to 1.9. There. We still have like 100 millivolts left before I give up on this one, but it's not looking good right now. CPU overvoltage error. I forgot to disable that. Oh, about the GTX 480. Yeah, I forgot to... I'll give you the details. I'll take care of that. It's just been a bit busy. Other things that I've been busy with is this turned up today. That's actually the reason I woke up today. Mailman came with that and woke me up. Yeah, the CPU is putting out a good amount of heat now. Okay, let's get AI Suite open again. You move your stupid, fat, slow application. Why is it reading it as a... Oh, right, it's having identification issues. Okay, let's go to that. Please don't crash. Okay, see, now it's running fine. So it does look like the 56x multiplier is just broken. Yeah. 56x multiplier is bad for your chip. Yeah, still running at 7.4. Let's bump up that BCLK in increments of 1 at this point because we're borderline. That's 7.48, 7.5. Yeah, see, water-cooled binning. Water-cooled binning is stupid. It crashed. Still stupid though. Okay, this should be validatable. So 138.55. Okay, we're going to validate that. We're going to just have to go through the BIOS because I'm sure it reset itself again. Yeah, it did. Dumb motherboard. And since we're in the BIOS anyway, we're just going to put that on ignore. Ignore. Ignore, 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 ignore. That by, yeah. So we're gonna go in like that. We might actually bump up the voltage a bit. So this chip seems to be a bit better than the 545 chip, which honestly I'm not remotely surprised. It's just like binning on water cooling is just the silliest thing ever. It's like my CPU is the best on water cooling. For Intel it seems to kind of work. But on AMD chips, it's just like, it's the most pointless thing ever. If anything, I'd say you'd want something that's around average on water cooling and completely, rather than like ridiculously awesome. Because the ridiculously awesome AMDs don't seem to scale at all. But I haven't been that many yet. But so far, from anecdotal evidence, it seems like good AMD chips suck on LN2. For 32 nanometer. I'm not sure how it is if you go on other processes. It might just be Glowflow's manufacturing weird. So let's get that. I'm just going to make sure that it's saving to the right folder. So this will be validation 7. It is trying to save to the right folder. And that just went empty. Good job, me. I'm going to bump up the voltage so that it actually manages to validate, because evidently we're really borderline here. How's the Yeah, the potentiometer is getting warm again. Actually, warm is the wrong word. It's getting hot. It's like painful to hold, basically. That's a little low. I should set the LLC to high. The extreme LLC on this motherboard just fluctuates too hard. Like, the slightest amount of load makes it really spike the core voltage. There we go. So now we're a little bit more voltage. So now we can just engage that 55 multiplier and validate, I hope. Actually, let's step it through 53 first. Actually, maybe I should have that open. Whatever. Let's just go. 55. Yes. Save. Ah! Yeah, it crashes right as you press save. That was close. I thought it'd be a bit more stable. Either way, I have a fix. I think I have a fix for that. I'll try that. Lower the LLC a bit. Crank up the VCC, the PLL voltage. Take that off of extreme to medium, high, and bump that up, bump that up, bump that, wait, 1.2, yeah, there. Make it work eventually. The problem is, once you lower the LLC a bit, you actually get a little bit less. It's more stable, but you get less voltage overall. Problem with LLC settings on most older motherboards is that the LLC settings are basically the motherboard designers calibrate the board out of the box for whatever VDROOP requirements Intel or AMD have. And then all of the LLC settings on top of that are basically just like percentage offsets from that initial setting through the voltage controller, and those offsets could be anything from like minus 40% to like plus 40%, and they're not particularly granular. So, like, more modern motherboards from like Asus have really fine-tuned LLC settings, but a lot of the cheaper boards, they just use what's ever built into the voltage controllers, and it's terrible. So, and this is one of those boards where basically you have standard, medium, high, extreme, and that's it. And the extreme is really extreme because it's way overshot, and medium should be pretty tolerable, actually. Like, if I was doing a daily overclock, I'd use medium on this motherboard, but right now we're going to use high because it bumps up a bit instead of like doing the silly things extreme does. We're just going to try validate as it is. I'm going to actually try maybe dial it in with lower BCLK initially and bump up the BCLK, because it seemed to like that the first time I went for like almost 7.6, I think. 7,590, yeah, so almost 7.6. Go. So first we need to go to that big multiplier. That validation. .535. Ah! Yeah, this one seems to be exactly as the same situation as the... Oh, actually, it's a tad, it seems to be either a little bit worse or basically the same as the 5.45 gigahertz CPU, which kind of sucks. Let's try more vCore. It's annoying. That first time I was able to move the CPU Z window around like crazy and it was fine, which I thought would indicate that it would be somewhat stable, but no, not at all. There's a tad more vCore. try less of that. See if that helps. You know what, I'll set the V-core to 2.1. Because right now it's hover, like, we'll just go straight for 2.1. Hopefully that'll help. It's the last little bit. Okay, that's a bit high. Yeah, that's why I don't like the way the volt mod's been set up. It's really not precise. Like, it quickly, like, I had a 2.2 for a bit. Because it's not precise at all. This sucks. Like, both of the, like, so far, all of these cheap chips seem to be just absolutely terrible. None of these does 8 gigahertz. That's fine. Nah, I don't have enough space on the desk. Ah! Crashed. Damn it. What would that do? That would be awesome if this one did 7.7. Right. That's what the last one did. That right now that I have there. It did 140 by 54. Let's try that. I'll max out the PLL. It sucks that this board, like, the Asus do have, like, a good LN2 board for this platform. It's called the Crossblade Ranger. It costs, like, twice as much as this board. That's the main problem with it. But there's a good reason why it costs twice as much. It has proper voltage controls. This doesn't. Was the first chip doing better? Not really. If I wasn't trying to do 7.59 and instead was trying to just do 7.56, I'm sure this chip would have already done it, and in that case it would have been the same as the 5.45. We still have... Okay, now this one's in the system. We still have this chip to go, which seems to be a tad better than this one, but I'm not sure. It might end up being exactly the same. It might be like... The problem is these are similar, like these are all from the same batch, and that one, the 5.45 gigahertz one, was a really different serial number, so that one seems to be, like, I don't know. Might be from like a really different part of the wafer or something, but it's hard to say. They're all the same batch, so if they all clock exactly the same, it wouldn't be particularly surprising. And technically you can delete these APUs, it's just massively pain. Like, it's really hard to do because the little bypass capacitors around the chips are just like crammed right against the IHS, so... And I don't think it would be worth it to try. So... Yeah, I don't know. I I don't think this is going to be going particularly well. So once I get to 54, it'll be like way high. Open up that validation window. I'm not even going to bother with the... Okay, that seems to be drying out again. I kind of wish I had an LN2 pot with a lower minimum temperature capability. The fusion's not exactly perfect for CPU-Z validations, but it's not far from it. Like, it's not that heavy, it's not that thick-based. Well, let's hit apply and see if it crashes immediately or not. That's an immediate crash. Kind of feel like more voltage is actually screwing me over right now. Because it did seem a bit more stable when I had it just at straight 2 instead of like 2 point something, so... I'm gonna dial it back off. And... No, damn it, Ace. Whatever, we'll just restart. Okay, well now it threw an 04. There we go, we're back at 2.05, and I'll just dial it back down a bit. Ouch, ouch. Yeah, this potentiometer is getting seriously hot. This is why I build my mods, like, not for pulling down to ground, but rebuild the entire circuit and do it differently, but it's just... I could not be bothered on a motherboard. It's just too much work. These chips all suck. You better not be a massive letdown, chip number 3. Okay, so this will be the last try if this doesn't work. I'm going to swap chips, and while that one cools down, I'm going to delid this one. Well, actually, while that one warms up. Oh no, I don't want to try delidding a good chip. Well, potentially good, like unknown. Because if I kill it, that would suck. Why are we so... What voltage we... Oh my... Wait, what the hell are you doing? Very, very silly application. Okay. Why was the voltage so low? That would explain the... If it was doing that last time, that would explain the... Nope. Still bad. Okay, so actually less voltage definitely didn't help. Yeah, why on earth would you want to undervolt a GTX 960? Well, I had high hopes when this chip did like 7.59 for a couple seconds, but now it's just like, oh man. Like that FX6350 I have is better than this. That one was booting 7.8 gigahertz into the bloody BIOS. Or what was it? No, 7.7 or something? Like, yeah, that chip was great. This is just awful. Okay. No, yeah, it's not happening. I give up. This sucks. I mean, we could try a bit more VCore, but I don't think it's gonna, like, this is just, it doesn't seem to be worth the effort to me, especially when I have a whole nother chip that I could just test. So, yeah, and I'll delid that while, actually, that's so annoying. Unmounting this is going to be a pain. Where's the, oh, I decided I don't need the hairdryer. Clever idea. Except I did also, when I decided that I don't need the hairdryer, I also wasn't thinking about streaming this. So I would have had all the time in the world, but it's not actually what's going on, so we're going to have to, well, actually, I could probably unplug this. Oh no, that's the wrong one. Unplug this. Yeah, actually that's fine. That doesn't affect anybody. Just me. Yeah. Oh, whatever. There. And we're going to let that sit like that for a bit to warm up. Oh. You know what? I'll try to delid the dead chip. I'm not going to show it on camera. Or actually, wait. Might come up in this area? Nah. I'm going to try it over here. Yeah, I'll just try to delid the dead chip and see how badly that goes. Because you do need to be really careful with these. Because of how the... If I delete it, I'll show you what they look under inside. There. This is gonna suck so bad. Because I've done this before, and I've wrecked, like, multiple AMD FM2 socket CPUs trying to delete them, so... Yeah, this is gonna go great. Go. Don't think that hairdryer is actually doing that much to get the temperature to go up. I mean, technically, I could just wipe the BIOS and have the system idling. That would help. And it would stop the board from freezing through, so I'm just gonna lift out the BIOS battery, turn it off for a bit. Well, actually, booting 2 volts with the settings I have on it wouldn't really be that much of an issue, but I'll still do it. Did I not turn off the... I did, okay, there. So that should be wiped in a few seconds. What, all the FX chips are soldered, but the APUs are thermal paste. There we go. I'll just let it sit in idle. Yeah, so we're at stock volts now. Well, stock volts, we're at 1.5, but that's stock enough for me to let it sit in idle. With all cores enabled and all that, so, yeah. There. And that'll warm up the LN2 pot faster than any hairdryer ever will, so... Enter, yeah. Because right now, just sitting like this, the system is pulling like 96 watts, and it'll stop the motherboard from freezing up as well, so... That's good. And I can watch the temperature here from my desk, so... GTX 480 or a V64? I have no idea. I've never run a 480 before, so... I kind of want to say a V64 would outdo it once overclocked enough. Out of the box, actually, a V64 will pull less power. A bit less power. Not a huge amount less, but a little bit less. The stuff AMD uses on the APUs is just as bad as Intel's thermal paste. It's not Intel, like, using terrible thermal paste. It's just... Thermal paste is terrible in general. For an AMD FX-8370 overclocking with water cooling, are there any other voltages to change except V-core? VNB, if you're overclocking the North Bridge a bit, and memory, you'd want to set the North Bridge voltage to around like 1.35 volts. How's those temperatures? We're still at minus 100 something. Well, so far I've only managed to bend one pin and very little, but very little progress on the actual getting the lid off part. These are a pain to get into. The pins on these chips make it that much worse. Oh, there we go. Hopefully I didn't knock out any capacitors with that, because that looked like it went a bit deeper than I wanted it to. This is not... Okay, I think I got one side. Yeah, that's one side. This corner doesn't want to go. Okay, there we go. Oh, I lost track of which sides I've done on this, so... Pretty sure I've done that one. Okay, so I've done this one. Yeah. I've managed... this one as well. So now that just leaves that one, and it should come, oh, right. Still too cold. Can't get one side to release. Oh, damn, I managed it. Hell yeah! That actually made me really nervous. Damn, I managed to not knock out a single one of them. So that's your APU. There, that's an A6. I think that's smaller than the quad cores, actually. Yeah, because this is one of the chips I have hanging on my wall, and it's... yeah, okay. It is a different die from the quads. It's smaller than this. So, I did not know that. I thought the two cores were just binned quads. Oh well. Yeah, but that's how you... that's not how you pull one apart. I just hammered it basically apart with a razor blade from one side. The problem is, right, problem on these is that if you look again, all those capacitors are just jammed right against where the glue ends. So if you put the blade more than the depth of the glue, you go straight through all those capacitors, which is just not great. I'm not sure if it would kill the chip outright. It might still work without them, but it's, you know, it's better if they're still there rather than trying to figure out if they're important or not. So, yeah. Okay, so that wasn't too bad, though I don't think I'll bother with doing the other two chips on stream. That took way too damn long. This is taking forever to warm up. Oh, I see why it blows all. Right, yeah. I used to... more recently, on some past streams, I would have put like a bit of towel around the top to prevent the snow from going everywhere, but oh well. I should have kept that on there. The thing is, it's so annoying to listen to the hairdryer. Ugh. Do you have any future plans for APUs like the A6-9K on AM4? No, I'm only doing these APUs because we need like a high frequency validation for the ROG Showdown. And the best platform, well, the best CPUs for that is AMD's Pile Driver. And these were, Alza had these on in the warehouse, and they're cheap. And they're Pile Drivers. So, and I happen to have this motherboard. That's the only reason why I'm running them, because normally I wouldn't ever bother with these. So, Yeah, that's why I have them. Like, I wouldn't normally run APUs at all. Um, what about this one? Doesn't matter either. Oh. Top of the pot starting to turn into a disaster zone. You know what? I might delete the still working one as well, since I was so successful with that other one. Because this one, like, I don't think the delete will pick up more than 100 megahertz. So on the off chance that this one's good, that this one's better, I'll delete it now, so I don't have to listen to the hairdryer anymore. Because I do find it really annoying. And, we'll go for it. And luckily, this one isn't even that completely covered in thermal paste. Like that last one. So, let's see. Actually, I'll use the other one for reference for where it's safest to try jam the razor blade. Each razor blade, I just use a box cutter blade, and that one's pretty dull, I think, but it's not, doesn't need to be super sharp. Main problem is it's too thick anyway, so... Okay. So there's that gap for the air relief. Okay, no, like, regardless of what side I attack, I'm screwed. Cool. So, I don't need to worry about that. All sides have capacitors way too close to the edge. So, that was pointless. Actually, wait, there is one corner which I think was fine, relatively. And that's the... Yeah, okay, I can go pretty deep on that corner and that corner. So that's the side I'll attack from. Probably. Anyway, let's try that. Okay, well, that's a bit far. Now I'll take work it along the edge. Come on. I wonder if, actually, let's see. Yeah, okay, that might actually work out. It's not sinking in at all. And damn it, snapped the blade. Oh, that's great. Oh, this is the worst edge to use. Okay, well, let's try. So once you get one edge completely, like, disconnected, it goes a lot easier after that, but that first edge is just... Yeah, it's not going in at all. At least I'm not ruining all the pins, which I'm surprising myself with. I'm managing to keep all of those relatively straight, so it shouldn't be, like, I shouldn't have to do anything but stick the chip right in the socket and it'll be fine. Probably. Okay, I'll try one more corner and see, because I do have two corners done, so I'll see if this corner... This one seems to have a really loose fit. Or maybe I'm just used to the force from the last one, because this is going somewhat better. Not a huge amount. Okay, that corner sucks. Let's try this one. Okay, that's one side, I think. Almost done. Gently. If I go too far, this is taking caps off, so... That's why I'm not using a real hammer, just the handle of a screwdriver and a light one at that. I really don't want to overshoot. Yeah, okay, that looks about as deep as I want to go anyway. Now we'll get... Yeah, now we still need 2 more edges or it's not coming apart. Okay, well this edge seems to be ready to give up, so let's try this. Okay, well, that failed. I'm surprised that all the pins are still on this thing. The temperature, okay, we'll be able to take that apart pretty soon, but now I need to really finish this off because I did actually manage to get under there and I probably ruined the thermal contact. Actually, I'll try run this one direct dye. So I'll just give myself a bigger blade because I've done that edge. Should give me a bit more control. Yeah, okay, that's far enough. This is the side I've done. So now I just need to finish off this side. Okay, actually that's really awkward from that side, so from... Okay, no, I need to get this into that corner at least. Otherwise that big one's not going in at all. Yeah, okay, well, that corner sucks. Yeah, I can't get in there. You'll notice that actually, like, the ceiling glue that they use isn't even at all when you try to unlock, like, razor blade chips, because, well, it is, like, you can tell that, like, one corner is much closer to the substrate than the rest of it. It's the one I'm trying to get under right now, but it's failing epically, so... Okay, well, let's see if I can... lift it. Yeah, okay, this one's open. Hopefully it still has all its capacitors, but it might still run even without them, because there really are just bypass, and I've heard of people knocking off GPU caps, CPU caps. As long as it's not a resistor, you're good, generally speaking. It might lower your max frequency, but it won't break the chip to the point where it doesn't work, generally speaking. Huh? Done it again. All of them are still there. Cool. So I'll turn this off. And... chip works. Yeah, that is one of those Victorinox army knives. I've had this for like ages. Like, I got it when I was like 12 or something, maybe? I'm not sure. So... I'm not even sure who bought it for me now that you mention it. I'm gonna have to... well, actually, no, I'm running direct die, so let's do this. This will be my first time running a CPU direct die. And I chose the APUs for two reasons, okay? Pretty big die, right? And, secondly, I'm not paying for these. So, that's a good thing. Also, if we check the pins, they're not that bad. This one's a bit bent. I can straighten that out right now. Got a bit of grime between the pins as well, but other than that, we're gonna... okay, straighten. Okay, cool. That one's straight now. That one was surprisingly the only one I was concerned about. Cool. So let's tear this monstrosity apart and freeze victim number 3. Victim number 2 was lucky enough to survive. Mostly because victim number 2 was a massive disappointment. So let's hope victim number 3 isn't. Just drying off the top of the mounting hardware so that I don't have to end up covered in water trying to take it apart. Why would I nail polish the capacitors around the CPU? I mean, it's going to freeze through so quick, like, it's not going to have time to build up condensation. So the plan is just to, like, dump half a tube of Cryonaut on it, and no, not half a tube, but a lot of Cryonaut, because we are going direct die, and then just sit the pot on top of that. That'll be... I mean, mildly concerning, but this is a PGA socket, like it's the pin grid array socket, so it shouldn't be like on Intel chips. If you try to direct die, your problem is you push on the die and the entire PCB flexes up, and you're kind of screwed when that happens. But this being a pin grid chip, you know, there's the socket right, but like the socket, the entire socket's under it, so it's not gonna like the socket doesn't flex. You don't have a bunch of springs under the CPU, so you can put a ton of pressure on it, and it's not going to go anywhere. The only issue is you might crush the silicon. But that's always a risk with any direct die mounting. Like, that's a risk on GPUs, that's a risk everywhere. And like, GPUs, it's not so much crushing it, it's like if you get your angle of, like, when you start mounting the cooler, if you come at an angle that's kind of awkward and put too much pressure on it, it'll break the corners off your chips, which sucks. Luckily, it doesn't kill chips if that happens, unless it's really deep, because the actual functional layer of a CPU die or a GPU die is at the very bottom of that entire silicon. Well, at the very bottom of that entire of that piece of silicon, and that the functional layer is only say a couple hundred it's like a few thousand nanometers maybe thick, so it's really, really, really tiny. So it might not even be 1,000 nanometers. It's like really small. So the functional part of your CPU by volume is tiny. It's really, really small. It's not most of the actual chip. So you can do like surface damage, like scratches or something like that. Not a huge issue. Though if you like try to solder onto a chip, then you actually can like soldered CPUs have a protective layer on the top layer of this, they have layers of protective material on the silicon, because when you solder CPUs, there's a risk that the indium would actually start contaminating the silicon if it wasn't protected. So, yeah. Also, I'm going to need to clean off the stock thermal garbage that AMD applied onto these off of that chip, and then we can go. I'm going to need to dry off the board after this because I'm leaving it like plus 10 just sitting there. It's like the worst. Barely low enough temperature to start condensating, and that makes your day, that makes the worst amount of condensation. Well, anything actually just barely above 0 is really bad. Like, that's the worst. Barely above 0, not barely below condensation point, but anything below and down to 0. Okay, let's take this apart. I need to get that paper clip off, pull that off, pull this off. Alright, this is plugged in. So let's unplug that. Now if I just pull this right up, we should pull the chip with it. Okay, actually, no, this one, pretty tight socket. There. Ooh, I dripped water everywhere. But, yeah, we need to wait for the LN2 pot to get at least to room temperature, because as long as it's below, well, no, we need to get it to above condensation point, which in the UK is basically room temperature, so, especially in my part of the UK. So we're going to have to still wait a while, but at least that gives me time to, like, there. It's going to dry off. As you can see, I don't have any VRM heatsink on the motherboard. We're not putting any load on the CPU, so it doesn't really serve a purpose. Ultimately, it would just start building up condensation while the CPU is sitting idle or something. Just gonna clean off the Cryonaut. And for thermal paste, as usual, I'm just using Thermal Grizzly Cryonaut everywhere. And for insulation, the board is just Plasti-Dip and blue shop towel. There's nothing special under that, so yeah. Let's pull the chip out. Which box did this one belong into? Where is its box? That's not its box. Go. And that one I'm done with. Go, nice and clean. And let's see if this still fits in the socket after all the abuse it suffered in my hands. Let's see. Up. Ah, yeah. Fits right in. I didn't even manage to bend any pins. Yeah, that's not going anywhere. Okay, this is... Looks like the LN2 pot will be fine pretty soon. Actually, it's fine now. We can use it. Well, that was a surprisingly short rebuild. Once I pulled the LN2 pot off. I'll just warm that up a bit. And I'll warm up the CPU as well. That's just to make the thermal paste play with it a bit better. And actually, let's check out how bad the... Huh. Yeah, see, this is why I... Okay, well, actually, you can't see anything, but this is why I use blue shop towel. There is, like, no water in the CPU socket area, which... That's good. That's exactly why I use blue shop towel. And actually, surprisingly enough, the blue shop towel is dry as well. So I'm not sure what the hell is up with that, but it works. You know, a dry system is a running system. A wet one, not so much. So that's good. Just close that up. Back up the dead chip, and that's where'd my thermal paste go? Oh, there it went. I've been like telling myself to clean up this desk for like the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks or something, like ages. So, oh man, I can't reach in there. So, because we're running direct die, I'm not too, I don't think it'll crack, but just in case, I'll just go with the KB-like amount of thermal paste. Which is way too much, but, well, which is just a ton. So, yeah, that looks like it should work, probably. So, I just put an LN2 pot on top of this, don't I? That's how this works. This doesn't seem safe. Oh well, here goes nothing. That really doesn't seem like it should work. That is so sketchy. I'm gonna... I think now when I'm mounting this, I'm gonna have to be like super careful to not like over tighten one side or it's just bye-bye CPU. Yeah, that is so not like... I'm not a fan of this. I mean, I did just decide to do this, but like... I am not doing this on expensive things. No way. This is way too sketchy for that. There. Yeah, I'm like not sure if tighten these down a bit. Because that's the thing, like you don't have that much surface area. The LN2 pot just... this is so dodgy. I really hope this works. I really hope this is worth it in terms of actual frequencies. Though, considering I don't know where this CPU would normally start out at, you know. That makes everything kind of hard to gauge. I don't think I'll tighten this all the way down. Just to make sure. Those all seem to be about the same depth. I'm not sure. I should have gotten some, I should have just run way softer. Like, I actually have them. Like, I have these much softer springs, but, like, at this point, I'm afraid that if I try to untighten this, it's just gonna ping to one side and crush a corner. So, let's see. Let's see if this even posts. That's the real question here. Does it even run? 21C. Still got some little bit of liquid nitrogen left. Voltage measuring is on. Temperature reading is plugged in. Motherboard is turned on. CPU death in 3, 2, 1. Holy crap, it runs. Wait. Yeah, it does run. Hot damn. Yeah, it runs. Hell yeah! I surprise myself sometimes. What's the voltage like? What's with the voltage reading? This multimeter is really like... I need to replace that multimeter one soon. CPU temperature 23. Whoa! Okay, wait, no, that's motherboard. There! CPU temperature 23. CPU temperature here, 23. Let's pour. Okay, let's see what happens now. Well, I'm guessing that temperature reading is the motherboard. Okay, well now it's much like it does seem to be a lot closer to... Yeah, this is a lot better than when I still had the IHS. Yeah, that is much tighter than when I had the IHS. Okay, well this might work, because the two things Pile Driver loves is cold and voltage. And we just added cold. Because once this hits, like, this will be closer to minimum temperature than ever before. Because no more crappy thermal paste plus IHS in the way. So we're currently at high voltage because when the Mobo reset, actually I don't know what it reset to. I have no idea what the board is doing. Yeah, okay, what the hell? Tool, OC, load 6. Yes, unfortunately, profile 6, in my infinite wisdom, doesn't include all the disabled stuff, so I'm gonna have to go through and disable a few things, but just gonna put this back around the bottom here, just to make absolutely sure that the system doesn't build up excess water again, and especially because now we're running direct dye, and, well, to be fair, it's not like the IHS is airproof. It really isn't. There's a gap in the sealant for a very good reason, and that's to make sure that it has, like, pressure relief. Because the inside of a CPU, like, under the IHS of the CPU, it gets really hot. So, there we go. It's nice and snug. And I just really overshot that. It's fine. Okay. Okay, well, we gotta go and disable. Actually, no, I want this one, but disable all of those, ignore that. Keep that where it is. No. 130. Just unloading the memory controller, basically, putting less stress on it. Actually, low memory controller like not pushing really high VDIM is actually a good idea on the APUs because the memory controller on these is really fragile. And I've cooked half a memory, I cooked one memory channel on a 750K with 1.85 volts. So, yeah. Not worth it. Same as like 1.5 volts NB instantly kills most of these chips. Because the 5.45 chip died with 1.45 volts Northbridge, and the A6-6420K I had, that died to 1.5 volts Northbridge as well. Don't need those. And let's rock and roll. Damn it, Windows. Why didn't I disable that yet? Restart. We're at 1.9 volts right now. That is concerning because we're not at the right, we're not cold enough yet, I think. But I think the chip will survive long enough for us to get below 100. Starting to think the motherboard is like, or maybe it might be the potentiometer might have like gone out of something. Yeah, okay, that's much more acceptable. 1.8, 1.86. Considering that I'm pretty sure we're set to 1.6, that means we'll still get a ton of voltage boost once we kick up the core, like set it to 1.9, and it should be over 2. I really would. It's too bad that like I got 3 CPUs from one batch because Like, if I had different batches, it might have been a chance that I would have had at least one from a good batch, instead of just two from, like, three from the same batch and doing roughly the same things. Because they're all, like, they're pretty much all within 100 megahertz of each other, so hopefully this one's 100 megahertz better than the best one. But I don't have particularly high hopes. $105. Actually, I'm starting to think the voltage drops as, because the LLC is on high, I think, or medium, or something like that. And as the temperature of the CPU drops, that voltage has been climbing down, so it might be just because the power draw goes down. Because, yeah, we're like pulling 80 watts right now. We're pulling nothing from the wall, which is normal. Like, LN2 lowers power consumption, but that might be why the voltage was so high before. Because the board is actually aiming a lot lower. And also, those cracks are really concerning now that we don't actually have an IHS. I think the thermal paste just went. Bye-bye. Let's test that theory. I should have some kind of temperature monitor installed. Where's hardware info? Actually, no, we have this. So, I'm just going to drop this right back down. And bench. So, either that giant loud crack wasn't the thermal paste, or the CPU's not warmed up enough that... Well, we'll see. We'll see. For now, it looks like everything is fine, because that's still completely glitched out. It's not even remotely close to changing. The CPU core voltage reading is off by 30. I'm going to try... I want to hit full pot, though, so let's go for that. And admittedly, I gave it so much thermal paste that this should be good for an i3-7350K, so... It has no business cracking on me. And we're a full pot. There. Man, those noises. Swear, like... It's probably just the mounting system working, but still. Can't say I'm not concerned. Okay. Well, if if the thermal paste is bad right now, the chip should be dead. We'll be dead very soon. Let's see. 6.1. Come on. Yeah, you can do that. That's easy. 6.6. No problemo. Perfect. 7? 7 crashed. That's a little early. Try that again. We'll try boot at 7, because the other one's booted at 7. If it doesn't boot at 7, then then I guess we're gonna be. Then I guess it's thermal paste went bye-bye. And do the same kind of. Let's try that. Not quite that high. Oh damn it! I forgot to set the voltage. I'm a genius. Yeah, we're on high LLC. Please be. It's throwing a 4F. Like, still throwing a 4F. That's concerning. I might have busted that thermal paste. Let's try that. Okay, that's posting. It might just be the chip sucks completely. Okay, I am going to go with CPU did actually blow thermal paste, and we need to go back to -15, and then back down to -100. Oh, that sucks. I'm gonna return this thermal so that it doesn't like boil off while we're waiting for that to warm up. I really hope it's not like uneven mounting pressure or something. Okay, you know what? You're going there. There, and I'll leave it like that. And I'll turn up the music because I don't want to hear the hairdryer. Big thanks to Tamagoreen for the $10 patronage. Big thank you there. It'll fund my insatiable addiction to high-end graphics cards and liquid nitrogen. Is somebody asking about this temperature reading? That's negative. That's -150 right now. What's a safe voltage for R9 on dry ice? Around 1.5. Because, yeah, like 1.5 as long as you, if it's a reference card, you'll need a VRM heatsink, because the high-side MOSFETs don't do a good job of cooling themselves. They're way too small, so they overheat pretty quick. If you don't put a heatsink on them, yeah. But you can run really high voltage. I mean, you can bench R9 290s like 1.4 volts even on air, as long as you don't have the, because like there's a no volt, there's no V-droop BIOS for those, for 290s and 290Xs, and if you use that BIOS, it's not pretty, because when you get no V-droop on a 290X, it actually, like, the VRM output ends up being like 1.6 or something instead of 1. Like, you get 1.5 by the core and 1.6 on output, and it's like it makes the cards run a lot, like, it's a lot riskier. For the R9 290 Vapor X, that VRM is like real, like that VRM is not great at all, but it does have the, like, the VRM heatsink's not part of the GPU cooler, so you shouldn't have a problem with cooling the VRM at least. What voltage can I run for a daily overclock on my XFX RX 480 GTR? You can run max like 1.25. I'd stay under 1.3 for sure. So, yeah. 290X Tri-X has a completely different VRM, and it's a lot better, that VRM is. But if you're on the 290, then yeah, you'll want to keep the VRM heatsink on there, definitely, and also put a fan over it. Yeah. Like 2,000 RPM plus fan over the VRM heatsink. And you should be golden. Another good morning? What time? Okay, to be fair, it is now morning in the UK. Well, it's after midnight, so technically morning, I guess. Is it technically morning? No, it's still night. It's like morning's like 3 a.m., right? Anyway, thoughts on the EK Critical Point GPU pot? It's pretty cheap compared to the others. I've heard it's terrible. Like, atrociously bad, and nobody wants, like, I've heard people say that it's like, it's so bad that you wouldn't use it on anything more power hungry than like a GTX 460. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's true. I've heard that it's not heavy enough, but like mass of an LN2 pot is not really a big requirement when running dry ice. And I've kind of wanted to test out that LN2 pot myself as well. So, but I have heard that it's really, like, it's not good. Like, for LN2, there's definitely better LN2 pots. I'm not sure how bad it's on dry ice. I think it might actually be okay. But, yeah, not sure. Actually, for anybody else on the chat asking about buying LN2 pots, you can get them from my sponsor, alza.co.uk. They also sell them for Europe, and they're the Kingpin cooling LN2 pots, which I think, just like from eyeballing them, I've not actually used one yet. They look like they're great for LN2 in terms of like being really slow to change temperature and like well controlled. But I'm not sure, like, I think for dry ice they would actually be worse than the EK stuff. Just because they seem to have a lot less surface area, but again, I've never used them. So... Though, I gotta say, it doesn't seem like the Kingpin pots would be that much more expensive than the EK stuff. At least they don't look that different in terms of prices. Hello to GTI Jason. We're just waiting for the system to warm up here. Because I decided to direct die mount a 6420K. That's the IHS from one. There we go. And since it's direct die, the Cryonaut has done what Cryonaut does and cracked at minus 150. I think. Because it's not running as high frequency as it should be. I can't actually get it to positive temperatures, but it's not running properly. Oh. Yeah, with looking at the price, yeah, 80 above that's quite a lot. And, you know, yeah, for the ROG competition. I honestly really do want to try out more LN2 pots for GPUs, and it helps that like I want to bench multi-GPU setups, so if I have 3 different LN2 pots, it's just going to be like I'll at least have 3 LN2 pots. It's not going to be like they're just going to be sitting on a shelf or something. I don't know that Kingpin makes any... I mean, Kingpin does, like, if you mean by the cheaper ones, the slim pots, those are bad from everyone because the design of the LN2, like the slim LN2 pots is focused on, like, being slim, and they sacrifice all of their thermal mass and surface area. So they're, like, the temperature goes up and down really, really quick. They're really bad, like, they're terrible for heavy load. And if you can avoid using a slim pot, you would always avoid using a slim pot. There's just, like... The only time you should be using those is like 3-way or 4-way GPU setups. If you're running 2-way or single, then you should be using like full fat pots. So, yeah. I don't know that Kingpin has cheaper CPU pots, unless you mean like the Dragon series, which I've actually heard a similar story about the Dragon F1s. Like you have the fast base, which is too fast, and the slow base, which is too slow. So, I've not used a whole lot of different LN2 pots, so I'm probably not the person to discuss with. Though I do want to try them. Since Alza does stock them all, I do want to at least borrow them to test them out and, like, figure out which ones I like and which ones I don't like. Compared to all the Der Bauer stuff I use, because the Der Bauer stuff is really expensive. I've over 1.33 for 3.8 gigahertz on a 1700X. That sounds a bit worse than average, I'd say. I've spent a lot of time overclocking my one R7 1700. The problem is I haven't had a big sample size. It's all been one CPU the whole time. So, yeah, that makes it kind of difficult to talk about averages, but from what I've seen, most chips should be doing 3.9, 5 at like, well, 3.9 at like 1.38 for most CPUs. Actually, if you want to see a beastly LN2 pot, you should see the new Threadripper LN2 pot from Der Bauer. That thing is apparently 800 euro or something. It's like super expensive. It's like more expensive than any other Der Bauer pot before it. But it's like, it's huge. It's so big. Like, I'd love to get a chance to test that one, but it's just, it's so freaking expensive, so that kind of sucks. That's unfortunate. Like, I thought the Beast was expensive, and then it's like, nope, here's the Threadripper pot. It's everything but more. Yeah, okay, so it is, yeah, that CPU does seem to be a little bit below average. But, you could try like 3.85, since you do have the fractional multipliers. Getting a bit of a puddle. Honestly, delidding with just that bare box cutter blade has, like, made one of my fingers really... Ow. That feels nice. Ah. Gonna have a bruise, I'm sure. Yeah, okay, well, unless you plan to... So, Censure, unless you plan to upgrade that cooler, you're gonna be stuck at 3.8 with that chip. Because 77 is high. Like, that's on the upper side of safe. Wait, people think the Raptor 3 is expensive? I put 450 euros or 500 euros down for my Raptor 4. Which, speaking of the Raptor 4, here's a teaser. Wait, a teaser of where that... Yeah, this thing is expensive and heavy. Like, this, I think, is straight up heavier than the CPU pod I use, which makes sense, because GPUs pull more power than CPUs most of the time, until Intel decided that, you know, it'd be funny if CPUs pulled more power than everything else in the universe. Of overclocking, at least. I think a 780 Ti might still actually be more power hungry than a 7980XE on liquid nitrogen, but I think the 7980XE is giving the 780 Ti a run for its money in that department. Go. Yeah, okay. I'm actually gonna set up the towel around the top as well. Because I usually run that. I don't know why I forgot it twice today. Because it does help with the whole water going everywhere situation. Actually. Whoa, I have no idea where the rest of my paper clips went. Oh, there's one. There. Now I don't have to worry about water leaking down. Okay, I think the thermal paste is probably back to functional, because we're at minus 15. Voltage readings are still turned on. Let's pull down again. Hopefully this time for the last time. If it cracks again, then I'll have to unmount and, like, put even more thermal paste on there. Overfilled the thermos a bit. So, just get that. There, so that won't go into the fan. I can put the fan back into position. And I'm pretty sure we're still in those 1.9 volt settings, so I'm going to pull down with the system turned off. And it is glazed good. That is just chewing up liquid nitrogen. I can just stay here like this and just pour, and it'll just drop. Okay, we're at minus 20. I think I'll turn it on at minus 30 because I don't know if it'll go to 2 volts or not. Pretty sure it will. You know what? Actually, no. I'll try pull it down below minus 50 first to make sure that it doesn't crack again. Okay. Minus 40. I'm going to need more liquid nitrogen. Go. And it managed to drop back up. Don't crack. Good. Minus 60. Don't you dare crack. Damn it! Damn it! Like that, okay, that definitely was thermal paste going bye-bye again. Because I actually felt that through the desk. Like, that was so forceful, I felt it through the desk. And it was pretty, like, that was loud. Damn it. Yeah, just can't win. Okay, well, it evidently does need a lot more thermal paste under there, so back to warm-up time. I'm literally just, like, once this comes off, I'm literally just covering the entire freaking chip in thermal paste. Like, there's not going to be chip left. Because this is ridiculous. Ugh. I'm going to need another tube of cryonol. I did mention that. They didn't send one, did they? Nope. Oh well, back to answering questions, I guess, because I decided that it'd be very clever to try run direct die, and that's evidently working out great. Pop. Kind of worried that the chip is going to be dead after this one. Because that was violent. That was really violent. Like, I did actually feel that one go through the desk. So far I think I had the chip up to 7.4 gigahertz. I think I could update that. Properties. I mean, I didn't save any pictures because I already have a score that's like 7.56 on a different chip that's dead. But yeah, like 7.5 gigahertz has worked. Didn't actually save it, but it was that high. There. My typing speed. Damn it. My spelling and typing speed. I'm tired so far. There. Fixed! I'm really not sure how to deal with the direct die mounting. Like, that's so awkward. Why aren't we capturing anything? Because I'm waiting for the CPU to warm up. I just blew up the thermal paste. A second time. Direct die mounting freaking A6s is a bad idea. Well, goodbye to Silberwald OS. Yeah, the target is 8 gigahertz. I don't think any of these CPUs is going to do it. Both, like, so far, I've killed one, and that one did 7.56. The other one I haven't killed did 7.5-ish. And this one currently, once the thermal paste stops cracking, it'll probably maybe do 7.6 or 7.5. So, yeah. As much as I want 8, I don't think any of these are doing 8. Has anyone tested soldered on liquid nitrogen? Like soldered CPUs? Yeah, I mean, that's like X99 is soldered, X79 is soldered, Sandy Bridge is soldered. Basically everything before Ivy Bridge was soldered. FX is soldered. FX is awesome. X99 is awesome. Phenom 2 is soldered. Like, there's so many soldered CPUs. It's just like APUs and Intel mainstream after Ivy Bridge is thermal paste. Ryzen is soldered. Somebody, IIRFTW, asked about killing the, like LN2 pot soldered on. No, that's just like, no, nobody's done that as far as I know. And mostly probably because people want to not have CPUs stuck to their LN2 pots. For IIRFTW, like, guy with stupid name, yeah, I killed the memory controller. What else would I kill on a pile driver? The CPU core? That's impossible. X99 was also soldered. It's like Ivy Bridge mainstream Intel since Ivy Bridge, and mainstream and high-end desktop since Skylake X. Because even like Broadwell E is soldered. I can't pronounce your name. I don't know. Is it 2RFTW or is it IIRFTW? Like, is it actually two separate I's, or is that supposed to be a 2? Okay, so it's Wait, Nah, it's a stupid name. You need to tell people you're for the win, then, like, people don't have a lot of confidence in you. IRFTW. Yeah, I'm just gonna stick to IRFTW. That makes the most sense. This could not take longer to warm back up. Here's the thing about blowtorches. Last time I checked, this is actually, yeah, it is flammable. It does say, warning, I mean, you can't read it, but it does say warning flammable. I can't use a blowtorch with that. I need to get some plastic-based insulation, and then it's just like, I don't want to smell burning insulation either. So, yeah. And the other thing is like, I'm going to burn myself on a blowtorch so fast, it's just going to be, like, terrible. I'm going to burn my house down. So, yeah. No, the top of the LN2 pot isn't plastic, that's aluminum. The entire top is aluminum. I mean, right now I'm not even running the hairdryer on max output. Max output sounds like this. Like, except I really don't want to listen to that. We need to send builds away to 2,000 degree night. Lol. Anyway, I like my ears not bleeding, so I'm going to turn that down a bit. Oh, great. I need to unmount this entire thing. Ugh. Actually, we can start with that already, to save a bit of time. I don't plan to wait for this forever. Okay. Fan, come here. There. Just gonna... Actually, this is gonna be... Whatever. It'll warm up on its own anyway, so... Just get that out. Okay, so the base of the pot is negative, but the top is positive right now, so should be able to get that apart. And remember, that CPU under there doesn't have an IHS, so I have to do these in order, at least a little bit, or I think I'll break the die right in half, which would suck so bad. Though the thermal paste cracking might have already done that anyway, so... Go. So those are all loose now. Great. Yeah, temperature's coming up nicely, so this will be fine. I hope. Now I pull it off and the thermal paste left on the LN2 pot is just little bits of silicon inside of it. That'd be great. That'd be exactly what I want to see. Oh, great. Okay, that's frozen to the LN2 pot. I'm not holding that LN2 pot. It's still cold. Okay, this can almost, no. It's like frozen to it on this side. Fortunately, that's insulation. I'm not going to blow through that. Come on, did it? No. Still not letting go. Oh well. Okay, well that's not going to hold anymore. Ah. Come on. Well, let's see. Okay, no, Chip made it. Oh, whoa, that was like... That looks like it's way off. Okay, well, got the LN2 pot with all the insulation, so it's great. How much more thermal paste could it possibly need? That's ridiculous. Okay, right. I'm gonna put the LN2 pot to warm up. Alright, temp probe needs to come out. There we go. Oh. Okay. I'm kind of tempted to just pile on more thermal paste on what's already there. Just roll with that. Can I get the... What the hell is up with the... Still waiting for the LN2 pot to defrost. There, okay, that's one piece of insulation. And that's the other one. Still gonna take a while for that to come up to temperature. Yeah, about the amount of thermal paste I plan to use, I basically, double that, yeah, pretty much. I've decided that basically there's going to be thermal paste going all the way to the silicone where the chip was connected, where the IHS was connected. Okay. Well, the LN2 pot's still too cold, as it's still building up condensation. You know, it's actually so, like, these seem really loose. I'm gonna check that as well, since I'm still waiting for the pot to warm up. It's not too much work to pull the entire system apart. Well, almost the entire system. Right, I haven't ripped the clips off of this motherboard yet. I still need to deal with those. I'm gonna disassemble it completely. Just gonna... Okay, the pot looks like it'll be good pretty soon. But I still want to check this. That doesn't seem like it's tightened down quite enough, so... This screw is freaking too deep there. Oh. Actually, no, these are tighten the base plate at least. Okay, well, that's not an issue. How's the pot doing? Nah, still not warm enough. Gonna wait a bit longer. Actually, let's pull this all off. And I'm just gonna... go. So that's secure again. There we go. There's the LN2 pop. Right, big block of copper taking forever to heat up. Well, I do need to get the shop towel back in place, so... And I did want to pull the chip. Let's get you out. Yeah, actually, I'm going to reapply all the thermal paste. I'll just complain to Alza if I don't have enough. Microfiber. There we go. Okay, the pot's good, so I can at least turn off the hairdryer now. You know what? I'm having second thoughts about the thermal paste all the way to the insulation, the glue, like the silicone glue that holds the IHS. Because that's a lot of thermal paste. I feel like this much should be enough. Like, that much. Wait. Right? That's a lot of thermal paste. Can't possibly need more. Then again, if I end up unmounting it, then this amount is wasted, so... Whatever. We'll just put more. It's not like it'll hurt. If I put... There's no such thing as too much thermal paste, just not enough. Go. I hope that's enough at this point. It's still not quite all the way to the silicone, but it's, Actually, I feel like... No, I think I didn't put enough on the lower edge, because I can just about see the outline of the silicon, and I've decided I don't want to see silicon at all. If I don't know where the CPU is in that pile of thermal paste, then it is probably big enough. There. I'm gonna need a new tube of Cryonot very soon. There. That honestly now looks like the thermal paste looks like the die of a 7940X. That's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Okay, well this better work. Because I'm not gonna have any Cryonot left if I keep trying to keep adding this kind of piles of thermal paste to this. Actually, which... This one's... yeah. This one went down here. That means this one was... yeah, this one was the one that wrapped around up here. There we go. That should be good. Ugh. Go. Okay, where did I put that mounting bracket? This is so dodgy with the LN2 pot just resting on the die. There. Okay. And I think this time around, I mean, we've got one good score. Well, one good score. One better score than this. I just dropped a O-ring down into the LN2 pot, so I'll just leave that down there. Because, quite frankly, I can't be bothered, like, trying to get it out at this point. And, more like can't be bothered. If I try to get it out at this point, I'm probably going to have to redo all the thermal paste again, so... Well, dropped a spring. Luckily, I have... oh, wait, found it. Well, whatever, I have sprayers. So... there. And I'm going to put as much mounting pressure on it as possible this time around. Chip's either going to... like, this is either going to kill the chip, or... which, actually, we haven't booted the chip since it last cracked the thermal paste, now that I think about it. I don't even know if it still works. Okay. 1, 2... Wrong one. Whatever. Well, I feel like I've maxed one out already, so... Those I don't think can go any tighter. Yeah, that seems pretty solid. The chip is now either in pieces or working. Okay, well, let's go for it. This time for sure. Kind of feel like I should try warm it up a bit. Like, that's something I've done in the past, but I've never like had proof that it works. And I have had people tell me that they'll warm up the LN2 pot after a fresh application of thermal paste to like let it settle or something. But because Grizzly Cryonaut isn't supposed to require, like, it's not supposed to cure or anything. So I'm not sure. Actually, since it's powered off right now, I'll wipe the BIOS. And we'll boot it at stock and I'll let it run up to like 40 before pulling down again. Go. Come on. Yeah, I can reach it. There we go. Where'd I put the battery? Oh, here. Right. Plug in the GPU power cable. Plug in the keyboard. Plug in the mouse. Plug in the HDMI cable. Okay. Well, the chip does still seem to work. Against all odds, I haven't crushed it. Alright, wipe the BIOS, so obviously I forgot that I don't want to hear that. Monitor. Wonder how long it'll take for it to warm up if we just sit in the BIOS screen. Screw that. We're going into Windows. We're gonna run some CPU benchmark. Wait, what the hell? Is the voltage so high? Whatever, we'll fix that in AI Suite 3. There we go, now we're at, like, acceptable voltage. Wait, this board legitimately automatically sets the CPU to 1.6? Kidding me? Okay, well that's interesting. I mean, that's not gonna kill the chip, but whatever. Voltage we at? Yeah, we're at 1.6. Yeah, that'll just make more heat for a bit. Let it go to 40, and then we're pulling down. About the mounting technique, I was going opposite corners. I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Like, I was going them across. It's just somewhere through that pattern I screwed up and then did this one twice. I think I went like 1, 2, 3, and then this one instead of that one. So then I went, right, whatever. I screwed it up partway through. So, yeah, but I did start like in a cross pattern. Just screwed it up partway through it, yeah. So. Man, this thing is taking forever. How much heat does the... It's pulling 130 watts at the wall. Ugh, APUs. I swear, they pull nothing. No power at all. Oh man, this is putting so much load on the CPU that, yeah, AI Suite is so bad. I bet I'm losing 100 megahertz entirely to AI Suite. I would not be surprised. Where's the hairdryer? I'll help the garbage along. Oh, this moved. Apparently. Can't see the voltage. There. There's like no difference between the CPU temperature in AI Suite and the one on the OC panel. I think that's a good thing. It's a pretty good thing, I think. Okay, look. This is taking too long. We're almost at 40. Okay, so the pot's reading 40, the CPU's not reading 40 yet. But I think I'll go for it. There we go. Just go into the BIOS and set everything up. And actually start pouring right now. Wait a minute. That's interesting. Like, why does this part of the BIOS seem to remember what I set it to? Okay, well, 6. I'll make a new profile at this point. New? That would not work. I kind of want to try medium LLC. Let's try that. Actually, no, let's keep it at high. 1.5 for now. No, not that. That's stupid. 13, 13, 13, 39, 2. Max clock base. Let's put that on 7. Yep. So that's set up. Wait, why is this on? Disabled. Damn it, now I need to save that again. Yes, save. I'm going to start with that. Alright, the vault mod's still turned on. Damn it! .3. Yeah, the vault mod's still on. To be fair, I shouldn't be surprised about that because I haven't been turning, like, I don't have an off switch on it. I ran out of single channel, well, not even single channel, I ran out of 2-channel dip switches, and using 4-channel dip switches for this kind of stuff just seems really pointless. -30. need more LN2. Nah, it's still fine. Just keep pouring this one. I think I prefer the medium LLC. The voltage doesn't seem to be bouncing around as much. I hope that was mounting hardware. Okay, that's mounting hardware. I think that's mounting hardware. Generally, up to minus 100, I've not experienced many issues with thermal paste cracking. Past a minus 100, everything goes to hell. Funny how the V-core keeps dropping with the temperature. "20 more degrees before the thermal paste goes bye-bye." 10 more. I think that was the thermal paste going bye-bye again. I think. I'm not 100% sure again. Well, whatever. Let's just pull all the way down and... If it doesn't run 7 gigahertz, that was thermal paste going bye-bye. If it does, then... well, I might still be okay. Well, we're at full pot, so that either... it's either over, for, or it's still good and everything will be fine. I hope. 1.4... we're now at 2.04. .1 applies no issues. Again, no issues. Seven. Okay. Might have just been mounting hardware. In which case, hell yeah. Oh, damn it, it just crashed. Okay, wait. Now the true test. Can we boot Windows at 7 gigahertz? Because all the other ones could post, like, they could get into Windows at 7G. 138. Oh, that's bad. Direct die freaking sucks. Oh no, now it's booting. Oh right, we're at stock settings now. Oh. I'm starting to think direct die just isn't worth it. Man, Windows is stupid. Yeah, no, Windows is too much load. Evidently. I'm gonna go with the thermal plate, yeah. I don't know why I bother. Just like run direct die and not be able to boot Windows, or run with the lid and give up some of the thermals. What the hell? No, that's not happening. I'm honestly not sure what to do about this. It could just be the chip sucks and it's not even my mounting, but like... Not that sure about it. About raising VDDA, none of these chips should need, like... It really shouldn't need more VDDA. Also, getting good at mounting I don't think is actually possible. It just seems to be random. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Like, here's the thing. Like, the VDDA only goes up to 2.8. And even if I set it to 2.8, it's not going to work. Pretty much guarantee that. It's faking it. It's not working. Yeah, it's still not getting into Windows, though. So, VDDA helped a bit, but not enough. I love how Windows thinks it can actually fix something. No, Windows, it's not you, it's me. I'm the problem. Though you're stupid anyway. can't push me a Windows Creator update when I don't have internet on the system. So, this one. So, you know, it's not a problem. Right, this board does some... Okay, wait. We're at safe voltages anyway, so I'll just... Well, safe. Yeah, this is safe. The thing is, like, these APUs put out so little heat at the, like, heaviest of loads, it's just like, I have no idea. It doesn't do a damn thing to the LN2 pot temperature regardless of what, if it's under load or not. Well, if the thermal paste wasn't cracked before, what I just heard definitely did crack it, so... Just gonna warm it up to -20 and start over. I wonder how hot the CPU, like how high this temperature has to be before the motherboard actually starts registering that the CPU's not, like, below its temperature range. Here's the thing, I'm not, like, I have a Skylake X, I'm not gonna run it on this LN2 pot, because that's just, like, asking for fail. This is not heavy enough, anywhere near heavy enough for Skylake X. Like, we're gonna be at, like, this is gonna be at -60 before the OS starts registering that we're, like, actually warm. Yeah, didn't I wave a DWAR around about some... Actually, Threadripper wouldn't be as bad as Skylake X. The problem is, this doesn't fit on a Threadripper socket. Well, officially, anyway. I'd probably figure out some way to get it to sit on a Threadripper CPU, but, officially, yeah, it's not, it doesn't support Threadripper mounting. Like, seriously, this is going to be reading -60 before we see a positive, like, before the motherboard registers a measurable CPU temperature. Because here's the thing, the CPU is currently pulling 100 watts from the wall. So it's not even pulling 100, it's probably pulling like Like, this program says it's pulling 15 watts. I'd be inclined to believe that. Well, actually, I don't think it's saying it's pulling 15, but, I actually have no idea what that measurement says, like, what that measurement's supposed to be. But this CPU is definitely not pulling any impressive amounts of power. Yeah, we're at minus 99. That CPU temperature is within 20 degrees of the LN2 pot temperature, and that's with the thermal paste being gone. Well, no, here's the thing, Mick. The program is now reading 10.5 watts. That's wrong. There's no way it's doing 10.5. 15 maybe, but 10.5 no. Benchmark score keeps going up though. That's funny. We're at 85 degrees and the motherboard's still not registering a positive temperature. How am I not surprised? Okay, I'm gonna stop the stress test. We're gonna open up a real temperature utility, just in case. Not that I think it'll actually make a difference, but just in case. Let's see. Is that bugged out? Wait. This is the problem with AMD APUs. I actually, like, there's like one program that actually knows how to measure the temperature on these. Because, like, we're not at that. I can guarantee we're not at that. What's the motherboard saying? Oh, now, oh, see, we're finally getting somewhat improvements in temperature. Yeah. That's the problem, is like, use real temp to check temperature. Yeah, no. It's like, real temp on AMD APUs, last time I tried it, was reading 128 degrees for the CPU temperature, regardless of what you did. Always. It was always 128. So either Cryonaut reconnects at minus 50, 8, or temperature sensor on motherboard is still being really dumb. Okay, no, it's just being slow because this stress test is so heavy. I need to start the stress test to get the CPU temperature readings. It has still minus 54. Well, those readings aren't accurate because that's reading minus 50 now. wonder when the motherboard will catch up to the CPU temperature of the LN2 pop. Somebody really needs to design an LN2 pot with built-in heaters. Just like a bit of nichrome wire running through the structure to warm it up. On demand. Shove 12 volts into it. Shove 12 volts into your LN2 pot. This is taking a month. Let's see. Okay, we're approaching that minus 20 range. Yeah, no, the hot plate isn't for heating up the motherboard. No, the hot plate is for heating up the motherboard, not the LN2 pop. Like, that goes behind the board. So it doesn't help in this scenario, pretty much at all. Well, actually, it might help a little bit, but it's not really meant for, like, warming up CPUs. Thermal paste should be reconnected at this point. Okay, let's see. Yeah, okay, honestly, there's just no way to tell with this CPU if the thermal paste cracked or not, other than that it doesn't do a certain frequency. Ah, this sucks. Because the temperature doesn't bloody change, right? It's like, press stress test. Is anything actually happening? I don't know. I couldn't tell you, because bloody temperature probe is reading the same thing. Doesn't put out enough heat. It's not like the i7s where you put stress on them at minus 100 and you immediately see positive temperatures. No, this is negative regardless of how bad the situation is. Oh well. Oh wait, I really don't want to restart. Well, I think I might have just cooked the CPU. Because that was set, like, what it just tried to boot was like 2 volts, 7 gigahertz, I think. So if that didn't kill it, well, okay, I'll pull it down to like minus 100 and we'll see if I killed it. But I think there's a pretty good chance I just did. So, that's great. Pull the battery. I do have that second profile after all, so. Yeah, I killed it. I definitely cooked it. Yeah. That's dead. That is very, very dead. GG me! Good job. Good job. Well, that's a second victim. Quite frankly, all 3 of these guys sucked. So, like, yeah. Terrible. Terrible chips. Every single one of them. And the stream went on long enough, so let's just pack up here. I honestly didn't expect any of them to do 8 gigahertz after I saw that first one, because it's like they're all from the same batch. They're within 200 serial number-wise, they're within 300 of each other. And this one is basically the exact same clocks as the lone survivor, which is this chip here. This one, I guess, just got lucky that it was second, because the first one died because it was the first, right? So I didn't know how much voltage I could shove through the North Bridge, so I killed it. The second one, I knew how much voltage I could shove through the North Bridge, and I didn't really want to try delidding it. But then I saw this still sucks. Like, it wasn't any better than the last chip, so I'm like, okay, well, nothing else for it, let's try delid. And, well, this one just, well, it's not the delid's fault, it's the 2 volts. 2 volts does chips in, if you're not at minus however many hundred, like minus 200. Chips die. So, yeah, that's the end. I am extremely talented, as can be clearly seen here. And, you know, before we sign out, I would really like to thank alza.co.uk for sending all of these very unfortunate APUs over. Oh, man. The great news is these are super cheap. So if you want, like, if you have an FM2 motherboard and you want, like, an easy 7+ gigahertz, then these are, like, 30 quid. Or, like, even new. Though I think, honestly, buying, like, new APUs is just a terrible idea. Because you're probably going to be better off if you buy, like, an 8-core FX and just bin those. Like, buy, like, well, actually, I'd buy, like, a 9000 series. They're not particularly great for 8G, but they're really, really, like, high leakage, so they play well with liquid nitrogen pretty reliably. But yeah, well, thank you, Alza, for sending in 3 test subjects. I'll have to pack these up and send them back, unfortunately, which sucks. Though they're all dead, so, yeah. I don't, well, except one of them, and I don't have a use for one of them, so that's fine. But yeah, if you're into extreme overclocking and you're from Europe, you might want to go check out alza.co.uk or your country's branch of the store, because They do have things like LN2 pots, delidded CPUs. Like my 7940X, they sent that to me delidded ahead of time. Like I didn't need to buy a delidder for that. So yeah, I know for a fact like they have a 7980XE delidded on the store right now. So yeah, and they have LN2 pots and like everywhere. So they do like specifically locking and stuff like that. So yeah. Next is I'll probably be benching vintage tomorrow with the. That's gonna be crack. Awesome. Like that. Based on it, but we'll see. The base minus this is a thing. But 700 liquid kind of because damn it, Mike ran out of batteries. Sorry about that. I was wondering when that would happen. I checked earlier in the stream. I'm like, you know what? It's surprising it hasn't dropped the batteries yet because I don't remember when I last swapped them. Oh well. Anyway. So yeah, that's it for the stream. I got the sponsorship message in? Awesome! Well then, that's it for the live stream. Thank you for watching. If you're watching this on YouTube, like, share, subscribe. Leave a comment down below or whatever. Like, and also, because like Alza doesn't pay me for food and rent, I have a PayPal, Patreon, and shirts. It would help out a ton if you could check those out as well. Also, they don't like fund the LN2 budget or anything like that because their sponsorship is like very, very early. They're just testing out the waters. So yeah, that's it for the stream. Thank you for watching and goodbye. For real.